So today we're going to talk about heart rate variability. Now I know, you don't train with heart rate, that's fine. This is a different topic. Just stick with me for a few minutes and I'll tell you why. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Running Otaku. I am the Running Otaku. And it's been a while, maybe the whole summer. Hope you had a good training session. I'll talk about mine in another episode, but today I want to talk to you about heart rate variability, or HRV. Now, I actually don't train with heart rate anymore. I used to, but I moved on to other things. But heart rate variability is something different. It's something you use not when you train, but actually to monitor your body's condition before and after training. Okay, I know many of you don't believe in heart rate because when you're training, a lot of factors can throw it off. Let me save you the trouble. I'll go ahead and list those factors for you. It could be thyroid disease, anemia, heart rate arrhythmia, pregnancy, caffeine, medication, and or other drugs, recreational or not, emotional stress, cold, fever, or infection, lack of sleep, time of day, heat and humidity, dehydration, and glycogen depletion. And in fact, a lot of you will point out that these last three combined on a long run can lead to cardiac drift. Yes, you're right, you're all right. Congratulations, you're right. Now it's kind of interesting. So I happen to be the son of a cardiologist. And my dad, as you can see here, was a lifelong runner. Here he is in 1947 with his Newark City Championship team. And my dad, in fact, was the city champion in cross country in 1947. And then he went to Pitt and he ran with the team, as you can see some of his teammates here. And he went to medical school, became a cardiologist, and continued running. Here he is at the age of 50, cracking 3 hours in the Las Vegas Marathon in 1981, something like that. So my dad was old school. So even though he was a cardiologist, he always had the impression that training hard was good and training even harder was better. So from 45 to age 70, he was running probably at least 80 miles a week or 120, 130 kilometers a week, and he never used heart rate. But what my dad did do is read a lot of EKGs, or electrocardiograms. Now some of you might say ECG. It's a difference between German and English spelling, but let's go old school here, EKG. So let's say you have a pulse of 60 beats per minute, which means 1 beat every second. It turns out that your heart doesn't beat at exactly once per second. Sometimes it might be a little bit less than a second. Other times it might be a little bit more than a second. This variation is what we call heart rate variability. So if we take all of those blue numbers and we take the standard deviation of them, we get what's called SDNN, which is one way to measure heart rate variability. Now there's another way of measuring heart rate variability, which is called RMSSD, as you can see here. And it also looks at the variation, but slightly differently. So you can see those same blue numbers from the previous explanation, but here, look at the yellow. So between the first and the second variation, it was a difference of 0.03 seconds, and between the second and third, 0.04, etc. So you can actually use these variations from one beat to the next and compute a slightly different statistic, but it's essentially the same thing. So how do you actually go ahead and measure your heart rate variability? Well, if you've got one of these Apple Watches, it's pretty easy. You see, bundled in the watch is an app from Apple called Breathe. It's a 1-minute breathing exercise. And if you hit the button and relax and breathe, it will measure your heart rate and the heart rate variability. So here's how I recommend that you measure your heart rate variability. When you first wake up, before you reach over for your phone and check your email and your pulse goes way up, before any of that, use the Breathe app for 1 minute and relax, and do that every morning. That way you'll get an apples to apples comparison of how your heart rate variability is changing day by day. So what I did was I took a look at my workout schedule for the past month, which I'll share with you here. And I wanted to see how different types of workout affected my heart rate variability. So I won't go through all of these, but here's what I want to show you. For example, on August 13th, when I woke up that morning, I had a HRV of 91. And then I did a bunch of 200s and 400s at my kind of mile race pace. And during that workout, I felt okay. The next day, August 14th, my HRV was a 71. I just did an easy workout that day. In fact, anytime you see a blank space on this page, it just means that I ran, but I just did an easy run. And I felt quite bad, actually. So I kept track of this every day for a month and saw how my workouts affected the heart rate variability. So I'm in the middle of a half marathon training cycle, which means that I'm doing 3 different kinds of hard workouts each week. One of the workouts is a long run at maybe 30 seconds to a minute per mile slower than my marathon pace, or 20 to 40 seconds per kilometer slower than my marathon pace. The second type of workout I do are kind of medium distance intervals. So this is usually somewhere between my 8K pace and maybe my half marathon pace, and usually around 4 or 5 minutes per interval, although sometimes I might take it up to 5 miles or 8 kilometers. And then the third type of workout are the speed intervals, which are generally, I run them between my 3K and my 5K pace, and do a bunch of those. So the total kind of quality of that workout would be probably around 5K or 3 miles worth. And then for the other 4 days of the week, I would just run easy as I wanted to. I didn't really care about the pace, just as long as I got in between 40 minutes to an hour. So you can see something interesting here. On the days in which I felt bad, earlier that morning when I recorded my HRV, it was in fact pretty low. The days where I felt okay, it was more or less in the middle. And the days where I felt good, generally the HRV was higher. Now, as you can see here, I had one high dot of 133, which was on the morning of my 8-mile half marathon pace tempo run. And I went out that day and absolutely crushed the workout. It was fantastic. So the HRV can be pushed down through stress. Now, it could be physiological stress, like just after a hard workout, or it could be emotional stress, like problems with the family, trouble at work, all sorts of private life issues, which we won't get into right now. At any rate, a high HRV is good, and a low HRV is bad. So me being the otaku that I am, I wanted to do just a little bit of analysis on those dots. So I grouped them into those 3 categories, and then I got the average score for when I felt bad, okay, and good. And here's what I found out. On the days I felt bad that morning, my HRV was 68. On the days where I felt okay, the average HRV was 79. And the days in which I felt good, the HRV was 99. So there you go. There's some sort of correlation there where the days that I actually felt good, my HRV was high, and the days where I felt poor, the HRV was much lower. And then I wanted to do one other kind of breakdown, and that's how the different kinds of workouts affected my HRV on the following day. So I broke out my workout schedule into 4 different kinds of workouts. The short intervals at that kind of 3K, 5K pace. And you can see every time I did that, the next day my HRV averaged 77, which was pretty low for me. When I did the medium intervals, either at 8K to 10K pace, or maybe a longer interval at, let's say, half marathon pace, the next day my HRV was somewhere between 84 and 81. So that's a little bit better. It's kind of the okay feeling. And in fact, after those workouts, I generally felt okay. And then after the long runs on Sundays that I would do, which were kind of marathon pace plus 30 to 60 seconds in terms of miles, or maybe 20 to 40 seconds in terms of kilometers, then my HRV the following day was a pretty high 89. So what I found out was that those short kind of track workouts are really hard on my body and very stressful on the system, and I felt really poorly the next day. The medium intervals, I felt okay, and the long runs didn't seem to affect me that much. So because of all this, I was able to structure my weekly workout plans as follows. So on the first day of the week, I would do the long run, and since I felt pretty good, I would only take 1 day off. And then I would go into what was hardest for me, which are those speed intervals. And I would run those, and then I knew that I needed time to recover, so I'd always take 2 days after that kind of workout. And then I would do those kind of medium-paced threshold or tempo runs and only take 1 day off because I felt okay after those. So it's very helpful for me to know what kind of workouts are tough and I need a lot of rest, and what other kind of workouts I can recover quickly from. So what do you guys think? I think it's pretty cool, right? You just take your HRV every morning for 1 minute when you wake up, and it gives you a really good idea of how you're going to feel that day. And so, for instance, if I unexpectedly have a high HRV, I might actually sneak in a workout, or if I'm already going to do a workout that day, I might up it a little bit. Likewise, if I have a low HRV, then I'll postpone my workout or just run extra easy to give my body an extra day to recover. And so there you have it, HRV in a nutshell. See, that wasn't too bad, was it?